Hello and welcome to Sideways. This week it's a special episode to celebrate Martin's latest milestone in recovery. I ask him questions about what he's learned and about the wisdom he'd like to pass on to others. I also ask him to make a tricky decision involving a duck. 9 years sober. Hello.
Hello. How you doing?
I'm all right, thanks. That beard's getting ridiculously long now.
I know. I might leave it on over lockdown, but I think I'll shave it off afterwards.
Do you ever get it? Do you ever get it caught in your laces when you're doing your shoes up?
I don't, but I was seriously eyeing up some beard conditioner on the internet.
You're going to get some beard oil?
Yeah, I was going to get some. Yeah.
Oh dear, that's fantastic. You'll be
I've never actually had
it. Have you got? So presumably, got plans to go and to live in East London and open a coffee shop? Have you now?
Well, I think I've never actually had any beard oil before, so it's be a new experience. You're never too old to try new things.
I think I've got an old tin of Castrol GTX in the car that I could lend you.
That'd be me. I was going to do my whiskers as well. I sort of have them Salvador Dali sort of moustache going on, which I thought
Salvador Dali. I was thinking more Terry Thomas.
Oh, either, yes. Ding dong.
No, that's Leslie Phillips, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, they all do that in those days, didn't they, back in the 50s? In the black and white films.
Probably. It's been a good week, isn't it? Good week for news.
You're talking about, well, go on. What's your favourite good news story this week, then?
Well, it's obvious, isn't it? It was that Fulham missed penalty in the 95th minute against West Ham.
That's where I was going to as well.
Not only was it a missed penalty, it was possibly one of the worst penalties ever seen in the history of man.
There's something about a COVID vaccine, but that's not as important as that missed penalty or Donald Trump not getting re-elected. That's way down the list as well, isn't it?
Never mind that. Let's get on to the business of the day, because I think this week we're doing this something of a bit of a special, really, isn't it? This.
Yeah, it is. Yes.
Because let's just tell our listener how this came about. Last week, you passed a momentous milestone, right?
Yes, in sobriety, I did. Yes.
So, what are you up to now?
9 years.
Okay, so that's good, isn't it? That's quite an achievement. 9 years sober.
I think so. I'm quite proud of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well done. I don't want to, blow smoke up your arse too much, but
and I wouldn't accept it.
No, I thought it'd be nice to mark the 9th anniversary of your sobriety with a little bit of a Q&A. So I've created a few questions for you that I'm going to fire at you. How do you feel about that?
I don't know what you're going to ask, because you'll put a few curveballs in there, won't you? Just for a laugh.
I have put some curveballs in. So this is the way this is going to work. I'm going to ask you some questions that are essentially about sobriety.
Okay.
And I've got 9 of them. How about that?
I like the symmetry.
And hopefully they'll give our listener a bit of an insight into not only some of the things that we've been discussing over the months, but also, maybe we might possibly touch on things that we haven't covered. So I thought the way we do this is I'm going to get you to choose a number between 1 and 9, and I'm going to ask you the appropriate question.
Oh, right, okay. I'd roll a dice, but that's way too close to gambling, so I wouldn't be doing that.
Yeah. So you can't roll up to 9 on a dice anyway, can you? Unless you've got some weird old dice.
You can have 2. You can have 2 dice and ignore the ones over 9.
That all sounds a bit complicated.
It does sound. Okay, I'm going to go for number 6 first of all.
Number 6. I'll tell you, the one thing that is worrying me about this episode is it doesn't feel like I'm going to get to talk very much, which is a bit disappointing.
Okay, no, I like the sound of that already.
Okay, good. So number 6, my number 6 question is, I see quite frequently around, particularly on Facebook, people who are in the recovery community, essentially, although not always, describe you as an inspiration. And I'm wondering what impact that has on you, how you see yourself when people around you describe you like that. What does it do for you and to you?
Yeah, it's quite a tricky one, that one, actually. I mean, just to use a corporate term at this point, that feedback is the breakfast of champions. You probably remember those from your old days. that phrase. So yeah, the feedback is always very welcome, isn't it? Either positive or negative, because you can act accordingly. It's strange because I feel that what I'm doing really is merely passing on the sort of baton of successful recovery to my fellow addicts. I mean, compliments are always lovely, and I'm happier to receive them now than I used to be. I used to sort of really hate it in early recovery. I suppose it goes back to the point, my self-esteem was so low when I first went into recovery that I didn't feel worthy of receiving any compliments. And I see that in virtually everyone that comes into recovery feel exactly the same. It's quite tough to take compliments. So certainly when I'm facilitating meetings, I have to be careful about, trying to build people up without being over complimentary, as it were.
Yeah. So, I wonder just on that point then, why do you think it is that people do see you as so inspirational? Because I see you as a bit of a clown, really.
Well, likewise. But I think I suppose when I went into recovery, I sat in a room with people that had done 6 months sobriety. Yeah. And I thought, I'm never going to achieve that. Never going to achieve that. I can't get that. And then there was a guy there that had done a year, and I thought, that's just, I can't see that far ahead. It seemed an impossible task. Yeah. And so it was inspiring to me to see people that have been sober for a week. So I think if you, as you rack up the years, I think people look and think it is possible, and therefore, they sort of get an inspiration just by osmosis, sitting in the same room as you, really. It's strange because I've been on, 2 or 3 radio shows talking about this sort of thing, and it's I felt that it and again, the people who were interviewing me were very complimentary about what had happened to me in my recovery and how I'm handling it and how I'm helping other people. But I see it as really when I'm running groups and when I'm involved in groups at whatever level, I find it increasingly good for myself as well. I think I need to keep in touch with my recovery. So even though I'm helping others, I find that I'm helping myself a lot as well. Yeah, it helps me to deal with complacency, which I know is a big cause of relapse, because I see people coming through and struggling, and I get strength from that, from the point of view that I don't want to go back to that position. Yeah, but also get strength when I see them come onto the meetings, over the next few days, and they're starting to get better. Yeah. So it's I don't see it as a chore at all. I see it as complementary to my own recovery.
You said you've been interviewed on radio station. You've been interviewed on Planet Rock ever after a song by Journey or Foreigner?
No, I haven't. But I'd be quite happy to go on Planet Rock.
Right, okay. Let's move on, because otherwise we'll be here all day. So give another number between 1 and 9, not 6.
Number 6. I'll go for number 2 then.
Oh, that's interesting. I'd say that was a very appropriate selection after the question I just asked you. So I wanted to understand what changes in terms of your kind of sense of your certainty over your own sobriety over the years. Does it become easier to be confident about your sobriety, or do you always have to be similarly mindful as you were on kind of day one?
Yeah, it's probably a mixture of the both. I mean, you can never have absolute certainty. And as I said in the last question, complacency is the biggest cause of relapse. So I have to be very tight on that. But I think, if the tipping point in sobriety for me came, and it does for most other people, at that point where you move over from not being able to drink to not wanting to drink. So it gets replaced by, I suppose, the strength you gain. When you get to that point in recovery. And for me, it was probably around about the year mark, where I got, during the first year, your old habits are still talking loudly to you. They're still trying to drag you back. But as you go through that year, and you're putting plenty of time into recovery, you get to a point where you think, actually, even if they said, here's a tablet now, you can go back and drink alcohol, I probably wouldn't bother anymore. I probably wouldn't want to.
Why is that? Why is that, do you think? Because, when alcohol has been such a kind of big part of your life, that would seem to be, a relatively short space of time within which you could say, actually, even if I were offered the chance now, I don't think I'd want to. What do you think the reason for that is?
Probably because you can see the direct correlation between what's happening in your life now and what was happening in your life before.
Yeah.
And you get to that point where you wouldn't want to substitute. You wouldn't want to go back to that horrible, horrible state. But it takes you a long time to realise that.
Yeah.
Coming out of, we talked before about even though how horrendous you feel when you're in active addiction, comparing it to where you are now, it's a totally different ball game. I forgot where I was going with that point, but
well, that's all right. That's not unusual.
No,
I could edit it to make it sound better, but I probably won't.
Leave it as it is. Yeah.
Yeah, we're all for truth and transparency here.
I think also, I'll tell you what I found also, that when you do start to study it, and you see the stats that shows that if you get to the 5-year mark, your chances of relapse then drop to around about 15%. And so it was always a goal for me to get to as far ahead as in the game as possible.
That's interesting. It doesn't because if when you get to 5 years, your chance, the likelihood of relapse drops to 15%. That's like a polar opposite of what your chances of sustaining recovery are like at the start of recovery. If you've got an addiction, then as we've discussed before, the statistics aren't terribly optimistic, are they, when you first go into recovery?
No, they're not.
I think we discussed also sometimes, that can be what puts someone off. If I've only got a 9% chance of staying sober, I might as well not bother and open another can.
And that's it, isn't it? It's wanting to do it at that point. It depends how strong your resolve is and how desperately you want it.
Okay, good. So give us another number then.
Should we go for number 7?
Number 7. Okay. This is a good one. This might give you a bit of trouble. What's your second favourite flavour of crisps?
Second flavour? Prawn cocktail.
Okay, and what's your favourite?
Can't remember.
Okay, good. So let's have another number.
I'll have number 8.
Number 8. Okay, so this is a question about emotions. So I wondered if you could just talk a little bit about how you cope with emotions now that you have to feel them. What that was like when you first recognised that you were feeling them, particularly the uncomfortable ones, and how you deal with that now when you have uncomfortable emotions, not just because it's interesting from the perspective of a recovering addict, but also because it's something that everybody struggles with.
Yeah, they do. It isn't. We haven't got the monopoly on that. That's for sure in the addict world. But I suppose coming from the place where your emotions have been shielded and clouded by alcohol and drugs for so long, that their exposure in sobriety was always going to be quite a painful experience. But I found that not all emotions are negative, are they? Yeah. Having periods of serenity and happiness that I hadn't experienced for many years was really weird at that point. So once you're exposed to your emotions, you can start to work out ways to deal with them and to handle them and to get the balance back. And so I deal with them now. I think I've learnt, and we did do an episode on this right way back in season 1 about learning not to catastrophize.
Yeah,
because that was always a big problem with me. My emotions would make me catastrophize about things. Anything negative, it would be to the nth degree.
Like dropping the spoon, you mean?
Yeah, the dropping of the spoon, which is a phrase which we now use quite a lot in groups to illustrate exactly that.
Yeah.
And I think that's learning not to catastrophize. I think it's very relevant with people in lockdown with COVID at the moment, because I think there's a lot of that going on, and I think it's an important point that look at this as it is a sort of a learning curve when in a new situation here, and it's exactly the same as I felt when I first went into recovery. I didn't understand what was going on, didn't know what was happening around me.
That's very true. That the point about COVID is very true, because one of the things I've noticed is, well, apart from the fact that so many people now are complaining about feeling stress and anxiety from the effects of COVID, but also because a lot of what people do in response to being in lockdown is try and keep themselves permanently busy rather than sometimes give themselves the opportunity to acknowledge the uncomfortable thoughts that they have. You know, it is a hard situation. A lot of people have had it very hard. I think it's okay to sometimes say, yeah, I'm finding this really tough. I'm finding the disconnect from my friends or from the things that I like to do really tough. I think when we fear acknowledging that to ourselves, we don't make it better. We actually make it worse.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that something that you taught me was about emotions being transient, and about that we will get through this, and emotions aren't permanent. They always change. They constantly change. And it is really walking through them. And as there isn't a shortcut, you can't circumvent them, which as an addict, we used to circumvent them with drinking drugs all the time. That stopped you having to feel them. But now I sort of dealing with my emotions now, I let them happen, and I walk through them. And I remind myself, and it's something I still do to this day, even though it was very relevant right at the early stages, that I'd remind myself that this won't last forever, this will change, you'll feel better soon. Or even when you're really happy, you think, no, this isn't going to last forever, I'll enjoy the ride while it's there. But don't expect this to carry on forever, which is what, when you're drinking to excess, or when you're drinking, I suppose in the early stages of your drinking career, as it were, you wanted the party continued forever. So you want to keep drinking and want to keep going, want to keep that feeling going. But I think one of the biggest things I've learned also is if you are emotionally rough, talk to someone about it. Don't just box it up, because that's really important. And I think that with something we were discussing in groups the other day, we're not good at that. We aren't really. We've been used to having a very guarded existence where we don't tell anyone about anything, because we're, our drinking's got to such a stage that we don't want anyone around us particularly. And it's very difficult when you've had a long period like that to open up and be emotionally, or to allow yourself to be emotionally vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I'm all right with that now. So if anything I've learned out over the 9 years, which is applicable to both inside and outside of recovery, would be that.
Okay, jolly good. Let's have another number.
Should we go to number one?
Number one. Okay. So number one is, what, if any, advice would you give to yourself if you could go back and talk to yourself on day one of recovery?
Ooh, day one of recovery. I'd probably tell myself that the feelings of fear that you're having right now about what's ahead will fade, and they'll fade reasonably quickly.
That was your overriding feeling on day one, right? Yeah,
it was the fear of going through it. I still didn't want to go through that, even when the car was pulled up outside to take me off to detox.
Well, you were just having your last drink, weren't you?
Just having my last drink, and I was thinking, I don't think I can do this. I don't know. I'm too scared. I'm too worried about it. So if there's a 9 year further on person next to me talking to himself, I'd say, look, don't worry about this. This is going to be okay. What you're feeling at the moment will fade quite quickly. Craving. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, how did you get yourself out of the flat that day then?
I had my cousin with me, and she sort of pushed me out.
Right, so if she hadn't been there, you probably wouldn't have gone, right?
I don't really remember it. I'm only going by anecdotal evidence as to what happened then, but I sort of vaguely remember it.
Yeah.
I remember taking my last drink, and I don't remember anything much after that until I was up in Essex, after we picked up another guy and we was on our way to the centre.
Did it help? Did it help when he got in the car?
Yeah, it did, because we were both there sort of giggly. We were still trying. He'd just done exactly the same as I had, and we were. It's like having an old drunk buddy next to me I'd never met before, but he was in a similar state to me. Because I do remember the driver saying, "You guys have both been drinking this morning, haven't you?" And we both said, "Yep." And I think because we'd been advised to cut down as much as you could before you went in to make the detox easier, but I had no chance of doing that. I sort of tried. But it was, as soon as you had one drink, it was there was no turning back. So I had no chance of actually cutting down. So I had to go through the rough ride of detox.
The cutting down would have required some sort of rational thought, which you'd probably lost the capability of having.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So I'd advise myself, but don't fear what's ahead. And the cravings that you're going to get in the early stage of recovery, they will be replaced by gratitude, which I think is a fair swap. So and it doesn't take long for that to happen.
So you would have said to yourself in true Blue Oyster Cult style, "Don't fear the rehab."
Don't fear the rehab. Exactly, I like it. Yeah,
and don't store that up on the spur of the moment.
Yeah, it's very good. It's very good. Well, a bit like the Amy Winehouse song, when she said, "No, no, no to rehab." Say yes, yes, yes. Get in there. Get yourself sorted out. Look what happened to Amy.
A salutary lesson for us all.
It is. But I'd also tell myself not to listen to the demons that are going to try and drag you back to your old ways, because that voice is going to be quite loud initially, and again that will fade over time. Try and do it.
Over what sort of time? Because that must be one of the things that is fearful for people who are yet to begin recovery. You know, how long will it take before this kind of visceral draw back to my old behaviour dies down? I mean, I know it's different for everybody, obviously, but it'd be interesting to know, how long that took for you.
It took me several months, I suppose. But even during the first 3 or 4 months, it was getting quieter. I was starting to live and seeing the joys of it. So that pink fluffy cloud we talked about for me lasted between up to about sort of the 6-month mark. Yeah. I was really joyous about it. It was fantastic, and the voice was becoming quieter during that time. But from times during the recovery, it will start to get a little bit louder. But generally speaking, it gets. The curve is a downwards curve of noise, and it goes down to the point where my voice is still there. It's still there in the back, but it's a very dim, dark, distant one. I always used to envisage it was like a giant sitting on a rock, and he'd be looking at me, telling me stuff. And now that giant sitting on a rock is just like a little dot in the distance. But I know one drink he'll come running up close to me again and sit on the rock right on my shoulder.
Is that because the giant's got smaller, or he's further away?
Probably a bit of both. Don't you think? Yeah, the giant, the voice is.
It's your metaphor. Don't drag me into your.
I'm not going to drag you into it. It's not
cartoon like that.
Yeah, but you can see him, can't you? Visit him in your own head.
I can. Yeah, I'm envisaging him now. He's green.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's a bit.
I think it might be the Jolly Green Giant. I think I might be envisioning the sweet corn tin.
And no, it's for the Green Cross Code man. He's kind to me now. It helps me across the road.
Nice. Good. Okay, great. Another number. I'm lost count of what we've used now.
We go to number 4.
You've written it down, though, knowing you.
I have, yeah. Number 4.
Number 4. Okay. Number 4. So, if you had the choice, would you rather be followed around by a duck quacking at you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or know that someone had put all of your records back in the wrong sleeves?
I'd go for the duck all day long, yeah.
Really? A duck quacking at you constantly, 24/7 for the rest of your life?
Oh, for the rest of my life? No, because in that case, I'd choose a record, because I could sort my records out again myself, couldn't I?
No, you just have to tolerate the knowledge that they were in the wrong sleeves.
That's a tough one. That is a tough one. Yeah, I'll probably still go for the duck.
Great. Okay, good. Next number.
We've got number 3 or 5 next. You go for number 3.
3. One of the things we've spoken about is needing to reach a sense of peace with the idea that addiction is a lifelong condition. And I'm wondering how you came to terms with the idea that actually this was going to be a kind of status, if you like, in your life for the rest of your days.
Yeah, I think that I'm not alone. I think everyone that comes into groups has exactly that fear. Everyone that comes into groups initially, when they're being assessed for detox and looking what the best way forward is, they would say, "I just want to go back to social drinking." Yeah, and so it's they're coming to terms with the fact that that's not going to be that's not a possibility. You know, the way you're built and the way your drinking behaviour has been over quite a long time. Abstinence is going to be the way forward, and it's the fear of that. It's the fear of being abstinent forever in your own mind, which is why you break it down into little small chunks, really. So, you take each day at a time, you put your head on the pillow. At the end of the day and you haven't had a drink, give yourself a bit of a pat on the back. And those days then move up into weeks, into months, and in my case now into years. But I still have a gratitude of going to bed, turning off the light and not had a drink. I haven't had a drink that day. And that doesn't go away.
So would you say that gratitude is as powerful now as it was on day one?
No, it's not as powerful, because I think that was a major motivational factor, and it was absolute joy. It's become more normalised now, but I'm still aware of it, and we
find it hard, don't we? I think, and we find it hard when we have to build something from nothing. The thought. I often, in fact, I've spoken about this with my own supervisor in the past, that sometimes someone will come in and they'll tell me their story, and I sort of think about it. And I think, crikey, there's a lot of work to do here. And it feels like I'm standing at the bottom of a massive mountain, and there's no option but to begin that kind of first step up it. But it feels, in some respects, a bit overwhelming sometimes, the thought that you're going to have to go through all of this building before you can look back down the mountain and think, crikey, I've come quite a long way. And that point is quite can sometimes be quite a challenge, right?
Yeah, it can. It can. I mean, it is because you don't know what's going to happen, and you know that if you do get to the end of the day tomorrow, you can have probably the same sort of issues are going to be cropping up again, which are going to test you.
Yeah.
And so each day in the early stages it's a restart almost. Yeah. But as time goes by, it just gets easier. You become more. I suppose you come to terms with what you're doing, and once you start to feel the benefits of it, it starts to gather pace.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's difficult about any sort of emotional difficulty is the relentlessness of it.
Yeah, it is. I think when I look around me, I see people dealing with lifelong conditions, such as diabetes, or people have life-changing injuries. I always see them as a constant source of inspiration to me, where they've had to change everything about their life, but they're still getting gratitude for being alive, and they're still making their way in society. So yeah, when you watch the Paralympics and you look at it and think, my God, they've taken a real hit in their life. They've got back up and they're going again. And so I don't see my struggle as any different to other people's struggles in that respect. It's a life-changing event, really, when addiction gets to that point. And I've adapted accordingly. So it's an adaptation of what's around you. But with recovery from alcoholism, the adaptation means a much better and fresher and much more lovely life.
What numbers have we got left?
We got 5 and 9.
5 and 9. Okay, which one do you want?
We go for number 5 then.
We've spoken again about in the past about relationships that get damaged in the midst of addiction. And sometimes you can do terminal damage to relationships in addiction. But I wonder how you think about those kind of key relationships in your life now, when you look back at how they changed through the years that you were drinking, and how you think about them now, how you feel about those relationships that are so important to you.
Okay, I mean, the two most important relationships were with my daughters.
Oh, that's right.
And after that, friends and family. Well, family and then friends, and then proper friends, and then psychotherapists, right down in that order. No, but seriously, no. I mean, the thought of the only thing that kept me going at my real darkest moments was the thought of my two children.
Yeah,
and I think that the importance of them to me has never changed. They've always been as important from day one as they are now. That hasn't changed, but the relationship over the years definitely has, because it reached pretty critical stages at some point when my drinking was that bad and I wasn't seeing them for long periods. But the same with what I find with a lot of people that come to groups. Sometimes we get people come in where they've had children taken away from them, for example. They've been put into foster care, or they can only see them through our contact centres and that sort of thing. So it's a very fractured point, and that's what I felt I was like with my own children. But sobriety has brought that back, dramatically. You know, it's improved dramatically with both of my children, and you know, I think it's an absolute joy to be around them, and I like to think that they feel the same about me being around them now, because I'm a different person, and it must be quite nice having their dad back.
Yeah,
and I think that's we always impress upon people that we get some very broken people coming, especially girls that have had their children taken off of them. But I've seen the flip side of that is when they get their sobriety under control, they get them back, you know, so they can start to repair. And I think everyone that goes into recovery has done damage with relationships and the people around them. And it is the only way to start to repair that is to get the sobriety under control, to get your addiction sorted out, because then you start to think different anyway, and you become a better person. There's no one I've seen that's ever come into recovery and turned out at the end of a few months or a few years to be worse, and a worse person than before.
Do you think relationships are kind of hampered sometimes by your kind of memories of the past, or do you find it reasonably easy to leave that behind you?
No, I don't find it easy to leave
that it's not, you know, it's not very helpful for relationships going forward, is it? You know, pondering too much on things that have happened in the past.
No, but it isn't easy to leave behind. I think we take baggage, don't we, forward wherever we go. But it is learning to deal with that, and again, that emotion. You get flashbacks from time to time of things that have happened in the past, but they don't trip me up anymore. You know, I can sit with them and they'll go away. I know they'll move on. So I try. That's, you know, over the years I've been in recovery, that's become way easier.
Yeah,
and not constantly beating myself up for the way I was in the past. I think coming to when you get to a point in recovery, when you are happy to do it and able to do that, you know you're on track.
So are we on our last question now?
Yes.
Okay, so my last question. Oh, I've got bonus question as well. That's allowed, isn't it? It's not really the 10th question. It's just...
Okay. If it's
I'll give you my last question. My last question is, what one piece of advice would you give to someone who knows they've got a problem but hasn't really done anything about it?
Be brave. Be brave and take that first step. Talk to someone. To get the ball rolling. It is, you know, if you feel uncomfortable at any time, you can step back, but just set the ball rolling. You'll find that there's a lot of people in exactly the same position as you. You're not alone in all this.
Does it matter who you talk to?
Not really, but it's nice if you initially talk to. I mean, you can talk to people that may give you some sort of advice, but which means you're starting to deal with it. You're starting to open up about it. So I think that's quite important. But, you know, talk to someone that has done it, really, or is in that position. You know, I get people ring me and quite a lot and say, can you talk to my friend? They're struggling and they don't know what to do. And I can talk to them and put them on the right road. Say, either talk to your doctor or put them in touch with a local recovery hub, and say, let me know how you get on. And that's really nice when they come back and they, you know, I've had a couple recently that have come back and have started really cracking on with their recovery, and it's an absolute joy.
Yeah, it must be.
So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to do that. You're not alone. And I think I when I was first talking to my doctor about it, I thought, well, there's probably no one. He's never had someone like me in his surgery before, which of course is totally wrong. You know, he's had lots of people, and it was you know, he had all the stuff to hand to give me. He said, "This is what you got to do," and it was quite a relief.
He probably never had someone quite as annoying as you in his surgery.
Or as tall.
Or as tall. Yeah, so the message there is, remember the kind of the necessity for courage at those times when you're struggling. And it's actually, that is a really good message, because I always say that to people who come into therapy for any reason. You know, that first step that you take is one that often takes an enormous amount of courage. But my God, it can change your life. Yeah, and it for the better. Yeah. Okay, so can I ask you my bonus question now before we finish? Yeah, go on then. My bonus question. What? I don't know if I bother to answer it, but far away. All right. Well, you should answer it because it's an important one. Okay. Okay. Who is your favourite member of the Sideways podcast team and why? Well, is that between you and I? Unless you think of anyone else. I don't think there's anyone else involved.
I'd say me, definitely. Yeah.
That's it. I don't think we need to investigate that question any further. Then. Well, thank you very much. That's been a very enlightening and very enlightening chat. Is there any? There's nothing else that you want to leave us with? No.
Well, no, we're just going back to that last point. At least you're in silver medal position, so don't worry about it. Don't think about it for too long. But there's a couple of things. What I've learned this week, I was looking about the number 9. So I've learned about the number 9.
Yeah, what about it?
Because in number symbolism, number 9 is actually represents pain or sadness, which is a bit strange.
How come?
Yeah. Well, there was a 16th century Catholic theologian called Peter Bungus, and he pointed out that this can all be verified, that the 9th Psalm predicts the coming of the Antichrist. So,
does that mean the Antichrist is coming? I think you'll find he just left the White House. Actually, he hasn't, but he will do. Hopefully,
he will be soon. And I learnt about the saying going the whole 9 yards.
Yeah,
I didn't know what that meant, but it's commonly thought that its origin comes from where tailors use 9 yards of material to make top quality suits. So there we go. There's a bit of info for you.
That's interesting because presumably, depending on your girth, you might need more than 9 yards of material.
It's average, I suppose.
So go on. Have you got a guilty pleasure then?
I have, yeah. Have you? Did you want to do yours first?
No, of course I haven't. I've had to work hard thinking of bloody questions. I've had to make loads of notes this week. It's ridiculous.
I know, yeah. It must be dreadful for you.
Yeah.
You must be struggling. Well, I had to do it. I was involved in a Halloween Zoom quiz this week, and my round I had to do was 10. There was 10 questions, 10 tracks, which were Halloween based.
I've just thought of one.
Okay, it is from that genre.
Yeah,
it is, right. Okay, well, this one was it didn't actually make the quiz in the end, but just because when I was playing the intros and I was sorting it out, I realised that the title of the track was said very early on in the intro, so I had to discard it. But it is one of my guilty pleasures, and it's "The Devil Went Down to Georgia" by the Charlie Daniels Band.
I think "The Devil Went Down to Georgia" is probably the first line, isn't it?
It is. That's the problem.
The devil went down to Georgia looking for a soul to something or other.
Steal. Yeah. So I had to discard it. So, when I listened to it, I thought, I like that. I like it, but it's a bit cheesy. So yeah, that's my guilty pleasure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, in that same genre, then I would probably because did you have "Devil Went Down to Georgia" by the Charlie Daniels Band on 45 when you were a youngster?
No.
Right, well, I definitely had this, and I played it to death. The Monster Mash by, what was his name? Bobby Pickett and the Crypt Kicker 5, was that? Or the Crypt Kickers or something like that?
It was Bobby Boris Pickett and the Crypt Kickers.
Yeah.
Although in some places in the world it was released as a Crypt Kicker 5 on the end instead of just the Crypt Kickers. So,
all right, Wikipedia.
I'm not sure.
Oh, that was Alexa just talked to me for some reason. Just said she wasn't sure. That she's not sure about you. She doesn't like your voice.
I've got to go now because I've got to have a sandwich before going back to work this afternoon. I know you're obviously lazing about today, not bothering to do anything.
Well, no. I've got to go and pick up some paint actually around at Brewers. So,
all right, okay.
Later.
Soon.
Bye.
Laters. Bye.
Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work, visit grahamlandywellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter and on Facebook at Sideways Podcast, and you can email us to let us know what you think of the show and with anything else you'd like to ask us. And finally, we'd like to thank you for listening and ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And we'll see you next week. Facing south, the hazel grouse flying out for air. in your hands, and I'll slip out a while. And if you see a time machine, tell them that I